all for the engineering companies, it's not helping us one bit.
Well, the flex fund, there's supposed to be specific dollars available to townships only. We didn't set the parameters for the flex fund. I guess I wasn't aware of the state.
I got my funds mixed up. You know, we applied originally, got turned down, and they came out. Flex fund, and I was working on that project, and it's like I said, you have to have a minimum of 200,000, 250, whatever it was, the cost of the project. Otherwise, they didn't want to do it. It's all for the big people, the big cities, or whatever.
Well, that's, I guess, a big conversation I'll need to have with DOT, because that's how we sent out legislatively. And we specifically had a pot of money strictly for townships to make sure they didn't get swallowed up by the counties and the large projects. So,
we have a lot of unorganized townships. Sheridan County had projects. They were looking at it too, and they just gave up.
Well, I appreciate that. I'll thoroughly have a chat with DOT on that, because that wasn't the intent. I mean, it should have been $50,000 project, should have easily been able to apply. That was the intent of the phone call.
I learned here just a little while back in Prairie County, a neighboring township was awarded, I think it was $170,000 on the flex fund, and they only had to commit $14,000. I was under the understanding that it had to be matched with funds beforehand, but I haven't had the time to look into it. So there is room. Don't give up on it.
Well, it's frustrating for me because it's always, it's a road that's shared between our township and the neighboring township. Yeah, you go ahead and do it. It's like,
right. And their estimate came from a local contractor. It didn't have to go through an engineering company and all this. So there's hope. We just got to jump through the right hoops.
And again, if we need to tweak it, I mean, that's.
I'd appreciate it.
I will. I'll chat with it.
It's the wording.
Because, I mean, it was intended to be, it was supposed to be simple and easy for the township standpoint to apply. That's, it didn't have to be a high dollar project. Again, they wanted to look at, one of the criteria I know was, does it kind of meet the idea of, or you want to spend $100 grand on a township road to nowhere, or a county road that just ends in a dirt road. So that's part of it in the criteria. And then, of course, as it was mentioned, you need to be at 18 mils from the township standpoint to apply for some of this. But I'll certainly relay some of those concerns, because that's not the intent.
We operate an efficient township, I feel, and Prairie Dog has helped us a lot build our cash fund out. But so why are you penalizing a good, efficient township? So now we have to go to 18 mils.
Well, here's what the logic was. I guess that wasn't my part that I put in, but the logic was, if the state's going to kick in money, the local political subdivisions need to be doing their share. So the argument being, if you only need 10 mils, then you don't necessarily need state assistance. That was the logic, good or bad, but the direct funding isn't subject to the 18 mils, where everybody gets that small portion. But yeah, any of the Prairie Dog and the flex funding, the argument being, if you're not at 18 mils, why do you need the money from the state? That was the logic behind it.
Our land in Clay County is valued quite high, so that's why we get plenty of funding. So they need to look at the value of the land also, in different areas.
I'm guessing that'll be a discussion next session too. It comes down to any other questions. If not, thanks everyone. I guess again, you know how to get a hold of us. you know, and it's nice to know if you've got issues like that we hear about it right away. Because then we can relay that back and see if some of that can be resolved. Because sometimes what the legislature sends out isn't the way the agency interprets it. They have a different take on it, and of course we're not aware of it, because once we go home, until we hear from people that there's some issues. So with that, thanks everyone, I'll turn it over to John.
Thanks, Robin. For those that don't know me, I'm John Nelson. I live in Rugby. For those that aren't aware of District 14, we have 7 counties in this district. And although Wells County probably has the best roads in our district, we have a lot of area to cover. Now, having said that, that gets to some of the questions that you just brought up. In the committees that hear these bills, there's not strong rural legislators involved in these committees. They don't understand property values. They just look at it from the standpoint that, you know, if you're going to get state money, you're going to have to put up, you know, some local skin in the game is what they always call it. So we need to have, with this new age of term limits, we need to have rural leaders that step forward. Robin, Jerry, and I all came in 1997, and we're probably not. It isn't because of how smart we are or anything, but we've either outlasted or outlived a lot of legislators that have been there. We're all in a strong leadership position today, and we have one session left before our term limits kick in. So if you have a specific project, the first thing I would say is come to us, and we can put legislation together or try to address that issue, because I think we're in a very strong position to do that, given the fact that the state budget is a real concern today. I just got an update yesterday. Last month, this last oil report was the first time where we didn't meet the projected level of production or price. Currently, we're almost exactly where what we expected to be from a production and price number. But we're only 7 months into a 24-month biennium, so now these lower prices will start to affect the price situation. We always go down in production in the wintertime in North Dakota. You know, when I'm doing something, my production goes down a lot in the wintertime as well. But that'll increase again. But we also have another situation in North Dakota where it's the stripper well situation. Over half of the wells in North Dakota now are at stripper status, which means that they're not paying the oil extraction tax, and that's a real concern. We really need to get our arms around that and change that next session, because that's, you know, oil is a big part of our economy. Agriculture is a big part of our economy, and both of them are in areas of concern right now. So as we look forward, this last month in the revenue forecast, we were down 15%, I believe, for the last month, the month of January. Some of that can be timing. Some of it could be a trend. We don't see a trend necessarily yet, but if it begins, we know that we're going to come into the next session with a smaller carryover. We had $1.5 billion carryover last time, and that won't be available this time. So we have, you know, we've gone through times like this before. Most of the spending that has taken place in North Dakota has been done on a cash basis. So we're not in in debt to anybody, but we'll have to be very careful in the next budget cycle. And and like Robin says, you look at the low-hanging fruit, roads, and road construction is always one of those areas. We will lobby as hard as we can to include counties and townships in the state dollars that go to construction. We've made some improvements, but we need to continue doing that because it's important for everybody here. And we need your help to come down and explain those situations that come up, because our legislature has become more and more urban. The people that actually lived in rural North Dakota and moved to the Fargos and the Bismarcks are timing out. So many of the legislators don't have any rural background at all anymore. So it's important that we send people down there that have some experience with roads, with zoning issues, with a number of things. But I think it's important that we also look, when we talk about where we're going in rural North Dakota, that we open that discussion up for more diversification. Because without growth, we're in agriculture, we can do so much more with less people today than ever before. We need to have more things going on. Just in some of the things that have happened in our district that we've been called into in the last, during this interim, is livestock production. There's a hog farm that's being proposed up in my county, in Pierce County, that has a lot of opposition. But there again, if we were going to utilize the grain that we grow for feed, we can eliminate that $1.70 basis that occurred last fall in soybeans and corn, and start feeding our own animals. Yeah, there may be an unsightly stigma to this, but with the regulations that come from the Department of Environmental Quality, it's as good a time to have concentrated livestock in the state of North Dakota as ever. And that's one area that we can build from that. I know in this county there's also the wind farm situation. There again, that does bring some people into the county. It has consequences. If you're a landowner that has the siting for the tower, it can help to subsidize your operation. It'll build a stronger economy in the situation. I'm not saying everybody should jump on the bandwagon, but enter into the discussion in a positive manner. The other one that came up in our district was one of the townships limited the number of dogs that a landowner can have, possibly to restrict somebody that's raising dogs. There again, I don't know about the people here, but many farms and ranches have multiple dogs. I think in this case it was 2 dogs was the limit. How many people have more than 2 dogs in their farm? My dog really didn't like that legislation at all. But that's the types of things that we have to try to stay away from. Have conversations with the people that if there's something in that operation that is not going well, there's ways around that. But we send such a negative connotation to people that are trying to do something else. We need to support as best we can somebody with a different or a new idea, I think, because we need to start growing, the pheasants and the Harveys and the Regbys and the Steels and McCluskeys in this district, and provide more opportunity for people to want to come here and live, because we don't want to pick up in District 14 that 8th county, because when we do that, that takes That gives another seat to Fargo, our legislative district to Fargo. And we know what we get when people don't understand where what's the needs are in this in rural North Dakota. So that's my main message today. I know you've been here a long time. If there's any specific questions that you have, I'd be more than happy to try and answer it. But I really appreciate being invited to this over the years. This is a great organization. Got great leadership in the state, but you, as grassroots constituents, take some time and help Larry and his crew during the legislature, because listening and hearing from you is important, and it has the most effectiveness of anything that I'm aware of. So thank you for the invitation again.
Thank you, John and Robin. Next up, we're going to have John Ogren, Tax Director. Then we're going to let you guys run for the lunch line and take a little break with the attorney gets here on. We've got another District State Director, Leon Monkey, District Director 4, sitting in the back. And I risked him there because our Vice President was hiding behind our past President, Julie Brandel. Okay.
Good morning. I just have a couple of things to talk to you about, and then I'm going to go see Fran in Forward Township this afternoon. So we have updated our zoning. We have zoning for wind turbines, and we have zoning for data centers. I have been visiting and helping a couple of other townships in which either have their own or are making their own zoning. I'm willing to work with any other townships in which have their own zoning to update theirs, because a lot of them are updated since like the 1980s. Yes, you know who you are. Also, this year, legislation in our House Bill 1176, I believe it was, updated as to how we are sending out notices. Previously, we had to send out notices and assessments that had increased by 10% and $3,000 from the year before. That is no longer the case. So instead of sending out 300 or 400 notices, we are now sending out 2,500 plus letters. We are now sending out a notice of assessment. It does not matter if your assessment decreased, increased, or stayed the same. Every owner is going to get a letter that states what their value was last year and what it is this year. Okay, that's a lot of extra work. Here's the thing. It's a lot of extra work with a deadline that has been moved up, meaning that the work that I used to do in March now has to be, or the end of March and early April now has to be done prior to sending out the notices. Now, here's where it gets tricky. Since 2015, I've had 29 contracted townships that I have assessed for agricultural, residential, and commercial if they have any. The commissioners and I have been visiting, and we are wondering, or maybe looking for your guys' opinion, as to increasing that contractual price from $400 a year to $600 for now. What are your thoughts? You have the commissioners here, so it's a good thing to speak up. Okay.
Or they can tell us later today, one-on-one.
There you go. That would work too. I'm meeting with the commissioners in March. You can feel free to call me if you want to. You can feel free to talk to them throughout the day if you would like to. I will know more about your equalization dates. And if you have not contacted my office for an equalization date and time and place, please do so, as I need to get a notice into the paper pretty soon. Any questions for me? Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, let's stretch it, have some lunch.
While we're having lunch here, is there any township officers here from Berlin Township? Nope. All those. How about Cafe Township? All right, there's one. How about Chase Lee? Crystal Lake?
You need another.
Crystal Lake? How about Fairville? I thought I saw somebody here earlier. Yep, there we go. Germantown?
Yeah.
Okay. How about Holland? Hamburg? Hawk's Nest? Johnson Township? Oshkosh? Progress? Sykeston? West Norway? I'm going to run through these one more time. Anybody here from Berlin Township? Bull Moose?
I get my friends stuffed shepherd. I get my friends.
Where are you sitting at? You use that salt, blue container.
Still looking for a couple. Anybody from Syverrson Township? Johnson Township? Or Hawks Nest Township?
I can't stand We've got turkey for vegetable stuff for
Let's see, I'm gonna do it.
Yep, I still don't want it.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jamie Tennyson. Some of you may know who I am. I am originally from the Dakota area. I've been the state attorney down in Grace County and in Nelson County for about the last 12 years. Recently left Nelson County. Still in Grace County. I'm back home farming now as well, right at Sutton. It's giving me an opportunity to be back home, working as state attorney, and this as well as giving me an opportunity to be closer to home and work with farmers just like myself. So it's been a good transition, and I look forward to working with you guys in the future. If you have any problems, I'll leave you my email address at the end of this, and you guys can shoot me an email if you have any questions. Or if you're driving by Sutton, stop by Sutton, I guess. So I guess my plan today is to talk about a few things. One of the things I like to do at the beginning of the year with the commissions I work for is talk a little bit about open meetings and open records, because it seems like people forget that over time. So just give everybody a quick refresher over open meetings and records. Some of the things that the legislature did this past year, and I'll open up for questions from you guys too. So first of all, I want to talk to you about what a meeting is, or what about open meetings and what a meeting is. So the first thing is, what constitutes a meeting? Well, a meeting is a quorum of the board, and if there's discussion of township business. So most of you guys are on three-person township boards. So if there happens to be a chance meeting between myself and Dan at the post office, and we start talking about township issues, that's actually a meeting. If I call Dan and say, hey, we got to get together and start talking about these roads and what we're going to do for a budget, what do you think about this budget? That's a meeting. So anytime you run into someone informally or formally, when you have a quorum of the board and you start talking about your township issues, that's a meeting. Now, I know he's a basketball fan because he used to be my coach when I was a kid. So I could call him and say, hey, Dan, let's go to the state tournament and go hang out, watch the games, maybe go have a couple beers afterwards. We can do that, and that's not a meeting as long as we're not talking about township issues. But again, once the township issues come up, it becomes a meeting. So I'm sure some of you got flagged in the past. I know I've gotten flagged in the past if I go out to lunch with commissioners after a commission meeting. Oh, you guys are having a meeting. You guys can go talk, go have a beer, go have coffee, go have lunch, do whatever you want, as long as the township issues don't come up. But once those township issues come up, it's a township meeting. Those meetings take place, they don't even have to be face to face, it can be over the phone, it could be an email, it could be a Facebook message, a Snapchat message, a text, or any of the sort. Those are still considered meetings. So be awfully careful about how you communicate. There is a change in the law that was done this last year at the legislature. I'll talk about that in a few minutes. So there is one way that a quorum can talk together about township issues and not get in trouble. So the next thing when you have a meeting, you need to notice that meeting. And what the notice is the what and where of the meeting. And the topics that are expected to be discussed. One of the things with a special meeting, when you notice a special meeting, you can only discuss those topics that are on the agenda after that notice is published. You can't change that agenda. It's stuck to only those topics. As far as how many days notice you must give to have a meeting, there are no specific provisions in the law. The AG hasn't written an opinion to give you any specific days or hours, and there's no case law. But as long as it's a reasonable amount of time, you'll get by. If you need to have a meeting tomorrow and you call a special meeting today, I think you're going to be fine. Like Barb talked about, you must post your notice of your meeting at the place that you typically do it. And I think Barb has a great idea. I think she said she uses yellow paper when she posts her meetings. And I think that would be a way for you to show off to everybody or show that everybody, they can go look and expect that yellow paper, and if they see yellow paper on the bulletin board where it's posted, then they can expect that there's going to be a meeting. Also, as Barb told you guys, make sure that the meeting notice is filed with the county auditor. That's actually a statutory requirement. So, you get in your meeting, now you have to start making sure that you take the minutes. Your minutes must keep records of the attendees, and I'm not talking, you don't have to write down everybody that's in here. I'm talking about the board members, so make sure that the attendees of the board are there. You want to memorialize that. One, because if you get into litigation where there's claims that something was done wrong, you want to show that you were there, you voted, and that you were delinquent in what you were supposed to be doing as a board member. You also want to talk about what was discussed. You don't have to talk about it verbatim, and I recommend not doing that. But you can say, you had a problem with 99th Avenue Northwest. You need to talk about it, so you said there was a discussion about the gravel needs or the washout or whatever on 99th Avenue Northwest. So that was discussed. You do need to memorialize the motions made in the seconds. Again, I'll pick on Dan. So Dan made a motion to put gravel on 99th Avenue Northwest, and Jamie seconded it. Those should be memorialized in minutes. And also, of course, the votes taken and the results of the votes. So, you get started on your minutes, you're writing your minutes down during the meeting just on a piece of notebook paper, just so you have notes. If after your township meeting, if someone comes up to you and said that they want that copy of draft minutes, that's subject to open records. Also, approved minutes are subject to open records. And the two counties that I've worked in, we both recorded our meetings. Now they're both published on the website. It's actually nice to have those recordings. It takes some space, but it's nice to have those recordings once. So if you're taking minutes and you don't think that you got the minutes properly during the meeting, you can go back and listen to them and remember them. And two, if someone wants to find out what happened at the meeting, you can share that with them. So I talked to you a little bit ago about the change to one of the open meetings issues in North Dakota this last legislative session, and this was great that the legislator did this. House Bill 1374, as Larry talked about, made a change to North Dakota Century Code Section 4404. It allows township supervisors to be exempt if you're going out and working as a employed road crew. So if your township doesn't have a road crew that can go out and take a look at the roads, this part of the law now allows you to go and survey the roads for whether you need gravel or if you have to go look at a culvert. you can actually go back and take a look at those as a whole township without having to worry about someone reporting you for an open records or open meetings violation. We'll talk about Senate Bill 2180, and this is important for you guys because this is actually supposed to have been done by August 1st of 2025. So at your next township, or at your annual township meeting, I would recommend that you do this. Senate Bill 2180 made another code to 4404 in section 20.1, and what that is the open meetings public comment section. So all government subdivisions now are required to have an open meeting public comment policy and allow for public comments during your meeting. The association has actually adopted our own public comment policy. It's on the association, or Township Association website. And if you want to take a look at ours and use ours as a way to format yours, you're more than welcome to, or if you want to contact me, I can provide them to you as well. What those are, or what this specific law requires, that you have that time period within your meeting. It's open to public comment, but you can qualify who can talk. You can't specifically discriminate against people, but what we have done, and I think what a lot of government subs have done, and we've actually used, I guess, in the two counties I work for, we use the same public policy comment in both Nelson and Griggs County. We have limited the people that, or the topics that people can talk about to the previous agenda or the current agenda. And that way that you can't get someone on there that is going to go on irrelevant rant. You can keep your meeting targeted and still keep it on track. We also limit the time to 3 minutes per comment and limit the entire public comment session to 30 minutes. And if someone speaks at 3 minutes, you can stop them. They're eligible to talk at the next meeting if they want to, but for that meeting, they're done. And when that 30 minutes is up, the public comment section of the meeting closes. It gives people the ability to talk, and I always preach, I preach at the Township Officers Association, I preach at the counties, that our job as government officials is to be transparent because we're working for the taxpayers. So we need to be transparent. We also need to be receptive of what the taxpayers or constituents have to say. But that doesn't mean that they get to control the meeting and control where the agenda goes. So again, if you guys have not adopted this in your township, I would recommend you do so at the annual meeting. And if you want to get a hold of me after the meeting, I'll be more than happy to send out what we've used in the past. So we've had your meetings. Now we'll talk about open records. That's something that seems like there's an uptake of an open records request. So what is a record? A record could be an email, a letter, a picture, a calendar, a draft of your minutes, meeting notes. It could be a message between Dan and I on Facebook. The record isn't really defined by the format, but it is defined by the content. So anytime that there's a writing, a picture, that, or any of the previous things I mentioned that contain your township issues, that's when it becomes an open record. It doesn't really matter where that record is at. It could be on your personal computer, it could be on your personal phone, or it could be on township materials too. It doesn't matter again where it's at other than the content of the record. So during this, I've been asked the question, well, can I delete my emails? Absolutely, you can delete your emails. If you go through once a month and delete your emails and delete township issues, that's not a big deal. That's typically what you do. You're not required to retain all those emails. But if you do get an open records request, at that point, don't delete them, because then you get in trouble for getting rid of those documents. So how do I respond to an open records request once that comes? First of all, an open records request can be done verbally or by writing. It doesn't matter how it's done. You can't require someone to say that comes up to ask you in the public if you can write that down. What I have done in the past, and I think you're fine doing this, if it's a complex request, I've requested them to send me an email with everything that they want. We've received some pretty big requests that take some time to put together. So you ensure that you get them everything that you want. You can say, can you clarify this for me and send me an email or send me a letter so I can get it together and not miss anything that you're requesting. So who can request an open record? It can be anybody. It could be your next door neighbor that wants the records. It could be someone in Minnesota. It could be someone in California. They don't have to be from your township. They don't have to be from your county. They don't have to be from the state. Whoever wants it can request it, and they're able to get it. So when you get that request, you must respond within a reasonable time. Now, again, there's not a whole lot of guidance what a reasonable time is. You can't wait 6 months to respond to it. If you're on a trip or if you're busy doing something, you don't have to drop everything that you're doing, but you do have to do it at a reasonable time. So if you're in California for a week, and if you get back, you start working on the request, you get your stuff put away. I don't think the Attorney General's office is going to have any problem with that. But if you just file it away and say, I'll get to it when I get to it, you might get in a little bit of trouble. So when you make the response to the request, you can do something else as well. And what we typically do in the counties that I work at, because the requests end up being quite large sometimes, we give them an estimate of what we think it's going to cost to produce those documents. And the first hour, if you have to do research to find the documents, the first hour is free, and that's statute. Anytime after that, you can charge reasonable costs. So typically we charge $25 an hour. That seems to cover most of the employees' salaries. And you can also charge, if you give them paper copies, you can charge 25 cents per copy. If you give them digital copies, you can't charge at all. But you still can charge for that time. So if someone makes a request that you think is going to take 8 hours to do the research and it's 1,000 pages, you can send them an estimate and actually require that payment be made before you start working on that request or give them the copies. For a couple of different reasons, I think, is we're dealing with taxpayer money and you're dealing with your time. You're not paid a whole lot as township guys. So it's appropriate to make sure that they're serious about it and that you're going to be reimbursed for it. So that's kind of the policy that we've taken now, because in the two counties I'm working for, the taxpayers are paying for it. When you make the response to your open records request, you have two options. You either respond to the request, or you cite the section of law that makes the documents not subject to open records. And there are some sections of law that would maybe apply to townships. They apply probably more particular to counties or cities. But here are a couple of exempt ones. Attorney-client privilege information. So if you're in a lawsuit and you're writing back and forth with your attorney, especially things that are in particular to that litigation, that may not be covered under open records. That may be something that's exempt. Personal records are sometimes exempt. If you have a security and infrastructure vulnerability that you've assessed, that could be exempt. And in the case of counties, active criminal investigations are exempt. So a couple things that usually are not exempt are embarrassing comments, texts or emails, complaints or drafts. You always need to assume that someone will read or listen to everything that you do. And it does happen. I've had, like I said before, the counties I work for, I guess their meetings are recorded, and we have had some things that have been said after people have left the meetings. Some comments that have been muttered under their breath even, and someone always hears them. The meetings could be recorded, or they are recorded, they could be requested, and it never fails. Someone hears it. And twice we've actually had a litigation because of what someone has said in the meeting after someone's left. So it's important to be careful what you say, because it could come back and bite you. Senate Bill 2027 is floodplain management. most of you have given your zoning authority for floodplains to the counties. My personal advice is to, if you don't want it back, don't take it back because it requires some work. The legislator in 2027 is trying to work with us so everybody is eligible for floodplain insurance or flood insurance if you need it or if you want it. And there's some ordinances that must be looked at if you need to update your floodplain, if you guys are taking care of it yourselves in townships. That's something that if you haven't already, you can talk to your emergency manager about. That also has a March 31st deadline. That has to be submitted to the state. Once it's submitted to the state, they're going to key it. I think they have a June 1st deadline to get it to the feds. House Bill 1258 was a result of some stuff that occurred south of Jamestown. 1258 gives the Public Service Commission the authority to preempt any of your land use zoning ordinances for transmission facilities. It was a case where there was one problem in the state, and that was legislated. I do know that there's some townships out in the western part of the state that are pretty upset about this, and I know that they're probably going to be looking to go back to the legislature for next session. Larry talked about 2329, authority for townships or counties to vacate streets in dissolved cities. Pretty self-explanatory. Larry shared it with you guys already. I do plan on putting some things together for the petition process, so I can share that with you. I haven't done it yet, but I do plan on doing it here this spring before I get in the field. That's all I have right now on this presentation. I can actually share a little bit about my last couple of days. I actually just got back from DC. I've been pretty heavily involved with the Association of Counties as well. I just got back from a legislative conference out there. We spent some time on a national level talking about data centers and talking about property tax. North Dakota is not the only one in I guess in that position. It's nationwide. Property tax is being imposed nationwide. Data centers are nationwide. There's a county actually just outside of DC in Virginia. It's Loudoun County. They have 200 data centers right now. I was fundamentally opposed to them. I'm not sure if I am as much after being out there. But I think in order to get these things to work, we have to get organized and make sure that they follow our rules and acclimate to be North Dakotans. One other thing that we did, I guess, is we spoke with our legislative delegation out there, Representative Fedorchak and Senator Hoven. They're working on some more farm relief. Hopefully that'll be done within the next few weeks. Also spoke with Jared Hagert, I guess. He's a new appointee from Emerado. He's at the USDA now. And from my conversation with him, he's going to be in charge of ARC and PLC payments. He's in charge of this payment that is supposed to be going out this week for the bridge payment. And he'll be in charge of some other ad hoc programs. So it's pretty cool that we have someone from North Dakota that's now a deputy at the USDA. So I think we should probably be looking forward to some good things going on out there too. For those of you who've signed up for that payment, I actually got mine in it came to my account last night, I guess, but you can hop online and sign up for that pretty easy. So it was a pretty good trip to DC. There's some good stuff coming up. They're coming down the pipe too for North Dakota, I think, as well. So if you guys have any questions, I'll be here this afternoon. Stop by and say hi. If not, there's my email address, and feel free to shoot me an email at any time. Look forward to working with you guys in the future. Thank you.
I'd like to thank all the township officers here today for the work that you do for your townships, the work that you do in your counties. It's very valuable, and thank you for what you're doing. I do have one other thank you that I have to throw out. Nathan and Bev Hart, they've actually attended 2 of our workshops in Mills Lake the other day. So that's gonna wrap up our state association meeting. Wells County, your meeting with the commissioners is gonna be coming up next. Please stick around for that. And unfortunately, I'm gonna have to